The silent approach. Commander Zelthak stretched his 4 arms above his crystalline head, feeling the satisfying pop of his joints after hours hunched over star charts. The bridge of the Zephyrian dreadnought Cosmic Talon hummed with quiet efficiency around him. His officers moved with the practiced grace of a species that had conquered 17 star systems without breaking a sweat. The holographic display before him showed a small, unremarkable yellow star with 9 planets orbiting in lazy circles. Third planet from the sun, Earth, the locals called it. Such a simple name for what would soon become Zephyrian Colony World Number 18. Status report, Zelthak commanded, his voice carrying the authority of 3 centuries of military service. Lieutenant Weiss, his intelligence officer, materialized beside him with that peculiar teleportation ability all Zephyrians possessed. Her translucent skin flickered with nervous energy patterns. "Sir, our long-range scans confirm the initial reports. The species calls themselves humans. Bipedal, carbon-based, roughly 2 meters tall. They've achieved basic spaceflight, but nothing sophisticated." Zelthak's mandibles clicked together in what passed for a smile among his people. "Define basic." "Chemical rockets, sir. Some nuclear-powered vessels for local system exploration. They've established a few mining operations in their asteroid belt and some research stations around their gas giants. Nothing that could threaten even our oldest scout ships." The commander studied the tactical display showing Earth's solar system. Red dots marked human installations. Pitifully few, scattered across the vast emptiness like dust specks. Mars showed signs of terraforming attempts. Crude, but admirable for such a primitive species. They would make decent slaves once properly educated about their place in the galaxy. "Military capabilities," he asked. Weiss consulted her datapad, patterns of light dancing across her translucent features. "Negligible, sir. Our xenosociologists believe they're still fighting wars with each other on their homeworld, using kinetic weapons and chemical explosives. No evidence of energy weapons, shield technology, or faster-than-light travel. Their largest spacecraft appears to be some sort of cargo hauler, barely 200 meters long." Zelthak laughed, a sound like crystal chimes in a gentle breeze. Throughout the bridge, his officers joined in. 300 years of easy conquests had taught them that primitive species followed predictable patterns. First came denial, then desperate negotiation, and finally resigned submission. The humans would be no different. "Fleet composition?" he inquired. 47 ships, sir. The Cosmic Talon and 6 sister dreadnoughts, 15 heavy cruisers, 20 destroyers, and 5 support vessels. More than sufficient for a world with no orbital defenses. More than sufficient indeed. Zelthak remembered the conquest of Kepler 442b, where a similar fleet had subdued a species with actual energy shields and plasma weapons. These humans, with their chemical rockets and metal bullets, would surrender within hours. "Signal the fleet. We jump to the edge of their system in 6 hours. Standard intimidation formation. We'll give them time to consider surrender before demonstrating our capabilities." The jump to Earth's outer solar system went exactly as planned. 47 Zephyrian warships materialized in perfect formation near Pluto's orbit, their sleek hulls gleaming with internal light. Each vessel was a work of art, designed as much for psychological impact as for combat effectiveness. Graceful curves, impossible angles that hurt primitive minds to look upon, weapons ports that glowed with barely contained energy. Zelthak stood on his bridge, arms crossed behind his back, watching the tactical display update as his ship's sensors swept the system. Everything appeared exactly as their intelligence reports had indicated. A few human vessels moved between planets at laughably slow speeds. Mining operations in the asteroid belt sent streams of raw materials toward Earth and Mars. No signs of hidden fleets or defensive installations. "Sir," Communications Officer Trex announced, "we're receiving multiple transmissions from the human homeworld, audio only, on primitive radio frequencies." "Let me hear their surrender," Zelthak commanded. The bridge speakers crackled with static before a human voice emerged, speaking in their crude language. The universal translator rendered it in smooth Zephyrian. "Unknown vessels, this is Earth Defense Command. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions in our solar system." Earth Defense Command. Zelthak's laughter echoed through the bridge. They actually believed they could defend their little world with chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. "Open a channel," he ordered. "All frequencies." The communication array powered up, sending Zelthak's words across the entire human communication network. Every radio, television, and data transmission device on Earth would receive his message. Primitive humans of the third planet. I am Commander Zelthak of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species has been evaluated and found suitable for integration into our colonial system. You have 12 of your hours to prepare representatives for formal surrender negotiations. Any hostile action against our fleet will result in the immediate destruction of your military installations and population centers. This is your only warning. The response came within minutes. Multiple voices, overlapping in what the translator interpreted as confusion and fear. Perfect. Fa. Are made conquest so much simpler. We don't understand. Who are you? What do you want? Please, we can discuss this diplomatically. Zelthak cut the transmission. Typical primitive response. Deny, bargain, beg. He'd heard variations of the same words 17 times before. Signal the fleet to advance to the inner system. Combat formation. Let's show them what they're dealing with. The Zephyrian fleet moved inward with predatory grace, past Neptune, past Uranus, past Saturn with its magnificent rings. The few human vessels they encountered fled toward the inner planets, broadcasting frantic warnings that amused Zelthak's crew, as if warnings would help against the inevitable. "Sir," sensor operator Nex reported, "I'm detecting unusual activity in the asteroid belt. The humans appear to be evacuating their mining operations." "Evacuating?" Zelthak moved to the sensor station. "Why would they abandon valuable resources?" "Unknown, sir, but our long-range scans show their miners heading toward Earth at maximum velocity. They're transmitting continuously, but the signals are heavily encrypted." Zelthak frowned. In his experience, primitive species didn't possess sophisticated encryption. Chemical rockets, yes. Energy weapons, no. But encrypted communications suggested a level of technological development that didn't match their assessment. "Continue monitoring. Signal all ships to maintain formation, but increase sensor sweeps. I want to know the location and status of every human vessel in this system." As the fleet passed Jupiter's orbit, more anomalies appeared. The asteroid belt, which should have been busy with mining activity, seemed almost deserted. Long-range scans detected some residual heat signatures, but the human installations appeared to have gone dark. "Sir?" Nex called out, his voice carrying a note of confusion. "I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the belt. It's as if someone has been conducting enormous construction projects and powered everything down simultaneously." "Evacuating?" Zelthak moved to the sensor station. "Why would they abandon valuable resources?" "Unknown, sir, but our long-range scans show their miners heading toward Earth at maximum velocity. They're transmitting continuously, but the signals are heavily encrypted." Zelthak frowned. In his experience, primitive species didn't possess sophisticated encryption. Chemical rockets, yes. Energy weapons, no. But encrypted communication suggested a level of technological development that didn't match their assessment. "Continue monitoring. Signal all ships to maintain formation, but increase sensor sweeps. I want to know the location and status of every human vessel in this system." As the fleet passed Jupiter's orbit, more anomalies appeared. The asteroid belt, which should have been busy with mining activity, seemed almost deserted. Long-range scans detected some residual heat signatures, but the human installations appeared to have gone dark. "Sir," Nex called out, his voice carrying a note of confusion, "I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the belt. It's as if someone has been conducting enormous construction projects and powered everything down simultaneously." Zelthak felt the first stirring of unease. Primitive species didn't conduct massive construction projects in space. They barely managed to build simple space stations. Analysis: the signatures are consistent with large-scale industrial activity, fusion reactors, heavy manufacturing, materials processing on a scale comparable to our own shipyards. But sir, that's impossible. Our intelligence reports clearly indicated these humans possess only the most basic technology. The commander stared at the display showing the asteroid belt. Thousands of rocky bodies, each one potentially hiding something unexpected. For the first time in 3 centuries of conquest, Zelthak felt a cold tendril of doubt reap into his thoughts. Tactical, what's our current position? We've just passed Jupiter, sir. Current trajectory will bring us to Earth orbit in 18 hours. And our formation? Standard intimidation array, sir. The fleet is spread across 2 million kilometers to maximize psychological impact. Zelthak nodded slowly. Spread across 2 million kilometers in the asteroid belt, where massive construction projects had recently gone dark. Signal the fleet, he commanded, his voice steady despite his growing concern. Close formation immediately. Battle stations. But even as the order went out, Sensor Operator Nex's station erupted in alarms. Sir, massive energy readings throughout the belt. Whatever they powered down is coming back online. On the main display, thousands of asteroids began to glow with internal light. Heat signatures blazed to life across 1 billion cubic kilometers of space. And in the center of it all, something enormous began to move. By the 7 moons, Lieutenant Weiss whispered. Sir, that's not an asteroid. The object emerging from the belt was vast beyond imagination. Larger than any Zephyrian dreadnought, larger than their orbital shipyards, larger than some of their smaller moons. Its surface was matte black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Size? Zelthak demanded. 15 kilometers long, sir, 4 kilometers wide. Mass readings suggest its solid construction, not a hollow shell. 15 kilometers. The Cosmic Talon, pride of the Zephyrian fleet, measured barely 1 kilometer from bow to stern. Weapon signatures? Nex worked frantically at his console. Sir, I'm reading energy patterns consistent with... I don't understand these readings. The entire hull appears to be a weapon. Around them, the asteroid belt came alive with purposeful activity. What the I had taken for mining operations revealed their true nature: weapons platforms, defensive installations, and launching bays disgorging smaller craft that still dwarfed most Zephyrian vessels. Zelthak realized with crystalline clarity that they had not stumbled upon a primitive world ripe for conquest. They had flown directly into the most sophisticated military trap he had ever encountered. The massive human battleship powered its engines, and space itself seemed to bend around its bulk. When it spoke, its message reached every ship in the Zephyrian fleet simultaneously. Commander Zelthak, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You wanted to see what humanity is capable of. Now you'll get that chance. The Terran response: Captain Sarah Chen stood in the command center of the TCS Indomitable, watching the Zephyrian fleet scramble to reform their scattered formation. The massive view screen showed 47 alien vessels, their elegant curves and glowing hulls beautiful in their own way, beautiful and completely inadequate for what was about to happen. Signal from Earth Command, Captain, reported Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez from the communications station. Operation Mousetrap is authorized. You have full tactical control. Sarah nodded grimly. 3 years of preparation had led to this moment. 3 years of letting the aliens think humanity was helpless, while the greatest construction project in human history took place right under their noses. Mr. Park, she addressed her tactical officer, fleet status? Lieutenant Park consulted his displays with practiced efficiency. All vessels report ready, Captain. The Indomitable is at full combat readiness. Escort Group Alpha through Echo are in position. Weapon platforms throughout the belt are armed and tracking targets. Sarah allowed herself a thin smile. The Zephyrians had expected to find a primitive world defended by chemical rockets. Instead, they had flown directly into the most heavily fortified region of space in human history. Open a channel to the alien commander. Full spectrum broadcast. The communication array powered up, and Sarah's voice reached not only the Zephyrian fleet, but every human installation throughout the solar system. History was watching. Commander Zelthak, I'm going to explain something to you about humans that your intelligence reports missed. We don't just fight wars. We study them. We plan for them. We prepare for them decades in advance. On the tactical display, the alien fleet continued to close ranks. Their formation was textbook perfect, exactly what Sarah's strategists had predicted. You see, we've known about your empire for 5 years now. Your scouting probes weren't as stealthy as you thought. We've been watching your conquest patterns, studying your tactics, analyzing your technology. Did you really think a species that spent centuries fighting itself wouldn't notice new predators in the neighborhood? The Indomitable shifted position, its massive bulk moving with surprising grace. Around it, the asteroid belt revealed more surprises. What the Zephyrians had taken for mining platforms extended weapon arrays. Observation posts became missile batteries. Industrial facilities transformed into manufacturing centers for instruments of war. 3 years ago, the United Nations made a decision. If someone wanted to invade Earth, we would make them regret it so thoroughly that no one would ever try again. Sarah gestured, and the tactical display zoomed in on the Zephyrian formation. Perfect positioning for traditional space combat, utterly vulnerable to what humanity had prepared. Mr. Park, give our guests a demonstration of human engineering, Fire Solution Alpha. The Indomitable's primary weapons array came online with a sound like thunder contained in a bottle. Railguns the size of city blocks hurled projectiles at appreciable fractions of light speed. Particle beam weapons that could cut through molecular bonds painted invisible lines of death across space. Fusion missiles, each one carrying the destructive power of a hydrogen bomb, streaked toward their targets in perfectly coordinated waves. But the real surprise wasn't the weapons themselves. It was how many of them there were. The Indomitable hadn't been built like traditional warships, with weapons mounted on a hull designed primarily for other purposes. The ship was a weapon. Every surface, every angle, every structural element had been designed around a single principle: the delivery of overwhelming destructive force. "Sir," Park reported, his voice steady despite the magnitude of destruction they were unleashing. "Primary volley away. Impact in 30 seconds. Sarah watched the tactical display as hundreds of projectiles and energy beams reached out across space. The Zephyrian fleet, still trying to close ranks, was caught in the worst possible position, spread out enough to prevent mutual support, close enough together to allow concentrated targeting. The first impacts lit up space like newborn stars. Zephyrian shields, designed to deflect energy weapons and small projectiles, shattered under the impact of tungsten rods moving at 10% of light speed. Elegant hulls designed for intimidation crumpled like paper beneath the hammer blows of human engineering. "Damage assessment?" Sarah requested. "Direct hits on 17 targets. 12 confirmed kills, 5 crippled. Enemy fleet is breaking formation." Through the view screen, Sarah could see the Zephyrian response. The surviving ships scattered, abandoning their textbook formation for the chaos of individual survival. Their return fire, elegant beams of contained energy, struck the Indomitable's hull and dispersed harmlessly across adaptive armor, designed specifically to counter their weapons technology. "Captain," Communications Officer Torres announced, "we're receiving surrender offers from the alien fleet." "Ignore them," Sarah replied coldly. "Humanity doesn't negotiate with invaders. We make examples of them." The battle, if it could be called that, continued for another 20 minutes. The Zephyrian fleet, designed for fighting opponents who played by civilized rules, found themselves facing an enemy who had spent millennia perfecting the art of total warfare. Human weapons platforms, hidden throughout the asteroid belt, emerged from concealment to deliver devastating crossfire. Escort vessels, each one a marvel of human engineering, harried the alien ships like wolves bringing down prey. The Indomitable itself was the centerpiece of the destruction. 15 kilometers of purpose-built devastation, every weapon system designed around the philosophy that had guided human warfare for centuries. "If you want peace, prepare for war." "Sir," Park reported, "enemy fleet reduced to 6 vessels. They're attempting to retreat toward the outer system. Let 3 of them go, Sarah commanded. Target the other 3 for immediate destruction. Captain? Park's voice carried a note of confusion. Someone has to carry the message, Mr. Park. The galaxy needs to know what happens when you threaten Earth. The final phase of the battle was almost anticlimactic. 3 more Zephyrian ships died in brilliant explosions, their elegant hulls no match for the brutal efficiency of human weapons. The remaining vessels, battered and helpless, were allowed to flee toward the edge of the system. Sarah activated the fleet-wide communication system as the last alien ships disappeared into hyperspace. This is Captain Chen to all human forces. Operation Mousetrap is complete. Enemy fleet destroyed with minimal friendly casualties. Stand down from combat alert, but maintain readiness protocols. Across the solar system, a cheer went up from a million throats. On Earth, in the lunar colonies, on Mars, throughout the asteroid belt installations, humanity celebrated its first victory in interstellar warfare. But Sarah wasn't celebrating. She stood in the command center of humanity's most powerful warship, surrounded by the debris of what had once been a conquering fleet, and contemplated what came next. Mr. Torres, she addressed the communications officer, prepare a message for broadcast on all known alien communication channels. Full power, maximum range. Yes, ma'am. Ready to record. Sarah straightened her uniform and faced the recording array. When she spoke, her words would travel across known space, reaching every civilization capable of interstellar communication. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force, speaking for all of humanity. Today, the Zephyrian Empire attempted to invade our solar system and enslave our people. They believed we were primitive and helpless. They were wrong. She gestured toward the view screen where the wreckage of the alien fleet drifted slowly through space. We are human. We have been fighting wars since before we discovered fire. We have studied conflict, refined it, perfected it across 10,000 years of history. We build our weapons not for conquest, but for the defense of our home and our freedom. The message would take years to reach the farthest corners of known space, but Sarah knew it would be heard and remembered. To any species considering aggression against Earth, understand this. We do not seek war, but we will not run from it. We do not start fights, but we finish them. Attack us at your own peril, because the first time you see a Terran battleship will also be the last time you see anything at all. The recording ended, and Sarah turned back to her crew. Young faces, determined faces, faces that had just witnessed humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage as a power to be respected and feared. Set course for Earth orbit, she commanded. It's time to go home. As the TCS Indomitable began its stately journey toward the inner system, the asteroid belt around it hummed with activity. Hidden installations powered down, returning to their camouflaged state. Weapon platforms folded their arrays and resumed their masquerade as mining equipment. The greatest military secret in human history settled back into waiting. But now the galaxy knew. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they were definitely not defenseless. The age of easy conquest was over, ended by a species that had learned the hardest lesson of all. If you want to survive in a hostile universe, you better be ready to fight for it. 3 light years away, the surviving Zephyrian ships dropped out of hyperspace and began transmitting their report. The message was simple, terrifying, and absolute. Do not attack the humans. They are not what they seem. The warning spread across known space like ripples in a pond, carried by every species that valued survival over conquest. Earth, the small blue world in an unremarkable solar system, had become the most dangerous place in the galaxy to pick a fight. And in the asteroid belt, concealed among the rocks and ice, the TCS Indomitable waited patiently for the next fool who thought humans were easy prey.